your worst, give me your best shot. Do your worst, is that all you've got? Do your worst, give me your best shot. Do your worst, is that all you've got? Do your worst.
Welcome back to Do Your Worst, the show where I'm trying to find the absolute worst horror or horror-related movie of all time suggested by you guys. That's right, I asked you to leave me comments telling me what is the worst horror movie that you have ever seen. And I'm now watching them. And on this episode, I selected 7 of them at random, and now we're going to watch them. But make sure to stay tuned to the very ending of the episode so you can actually see them ranked up to see who actually did their worst. Number 7. Okay, let's jump right into this, and our first entry was suggested by Stevie Boy 481, and he suggested I watch 1992's Revenge of Billy the Kid. Now, I thought that I saw this one ages ago, probably around the time that it came out, but I don't remember anything about it, so let's see if any of it rings a bell. It begins with a warning that anyone with a heart condition or a young child should probably leave, and I'm basically a young child, and I don't know if eating a lot of Cinnabon qualifies as a heart condition, but I feel like it should. But if so, I meet both criteria, but I'll chance it anyway. We have this family of farmers, and they're pretty down and out to the point that when their grandpa dies, they just toss him out in the manure. When Ronnie goes into town, she sees this guy in a really convincing wig, and she's in love with Lance here. But then, one day, when Pops takes the goat out to milk it, he decides to instead, have sex with it. But then, things get complicated when that goat gives birth to a hybrid goat baby, and they want to kill it. But Ronnie decides to save its life since she wants a pet. It grows up fast, and they name it Billy, and they mostly just pick on him, and he's this delightful little puppet effect. Things escalate to the point that Dad just ties him up in a bag and tosses him in a river to kill him, but he survives and comes back to kill the family's livestock. At this point, he's now full-sized, and I forgot to mention that the farmers are the McDonald's, and they call the dad old. One more thing. Ronnie is short for Ronald. Get it? Oh, and Lance's last name is a lot. How about that? You get that? Well, a giant Billy starts to get revenge at the people around, eventually making its way to the McDonald's themselves. E-I-E-die-O. So, this was directed by Jim Groom and was his debut feature, although he wouldn't make another one until 2005 with something called Room 36, and everything after that were documentaries about making classic horror films. For this one, he raised up £50,000, but halfway through shooting, they ran out of money, so they had to halt production for almost a year to try to get more, and eventually found someone to give them $27,000 extra. But by this point, one of the main actors was unavailable, so all of his parts had to be reshot. Out of all the films we're going to be talking about today, this one has the best score, since it's a decent 5.4 out of 10 on IMDb, and a 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So I double that Letterboxd score, so it's also out of 10, which gives it a 5. And its combined score here is 10.4 out of 20, which is respectable. And I have to tell you, I'm not mad at this one at all. Sure, it's not great, but it's pretty damn entertaining. It has an awesome monster suit. And that ending was unexpected and hilarious.
I ain't come for trouble, just my girl.
Number 6. This next one is coming at us from a suggestion from CD Scale Models, and it's a more recent film with 2024's Cracoon. And real quick, after Cocaine Bear happened, there was a bunch of knockoffs that had animals on drugs, and most of them weren't that great, and this was one of them. So let's see how it rates. It begins with a drug deal and a gay character that was lifted straight out of a late 80s film, and two addicts that try out some new goods that he has, but it makes them go crazy, and one kills the other. The coroner here is none other than John A. Russo, co-writer of Night of the Living Dead, and Pittsburgh native, and Jessa Flux is here too. She's married to the town sheriff, and their marriage is on the rocks because she had an affair, and there's then a bunch of folks on a weekend trip up to the woods. But when that drug dealer and his equally stereotypical partner have to toss their killer stash out the window, this extremely convincing raccoon puppet finds it. But I feel like I need to point out that almost any time that anyone is outside, they're filmed via drone. So I guess someone bought a drone and they were like, we are getting every penny out of this that we can. Turns out that the zombie making drugs also have that same effect on that raccoon, and it goes nuts and starts to murder, going on a rampage through the woods. And this one was by Brad Twigg, and he's done a whole bunch of no-budget films, and I've covered one in a roster of wrestling-themed horror films with Wrestle Massacre. It's clearly not one that's supposed to be taken serious, since it's working the comedy angle as well, even if I'll admit that the vast majority of that fell flat for me. This is another one, though, where the numbers aren't too bad, since its IMDb score is a 3.6, and that's not great, but the Letterboxd tally is 2.2, which is only a little lower than Billy the Kid. If we double that and add it up, that gives this one a total score of 8 out of 20, and that's not too poor of a showing. And this is normally the type of thing that I live for. It's cheap and silly and is made more with persistence than it is with money. And it does have that backyard charm working in its favor. However, that being said, even though I think that it's an enjoyable watch, I also think that it tries too hard to be funny and crappy, which brings it down a bit.
Twins.
Number 5. Brace yourselves for this next one because, as recommended by MonkeyShine16, we're watching X-Files. Not the X-Files. Nope, there's no dash here. It's just the letter X and then the word files. And this is not related in any way to the Chris Carter TV show. Nope. Instead, this one opens with a woman materializing on top of a big satellite dish, and it appears as if she's a shape changer, and she jumps. And this is how it's portrayed. It cuts to a few days later, and she's going on a date with a man from a dating service, and damn, that camera is just right up in their faces at all times. She lures him to this abandoned warehouse, and look, I don't care how hard up you are. If you meet a woman for the first time and she's immediately like, let's go to this rundown death factory, just hightail it out of there. Then, what you're expecting to happen does happen. But trust me, you aren't expecting it to look like this. But then things take a turn when it appears like that guy isn't what he seems either. And it's all like someone took a beginner's course in After Effects and just couldn't wait to show off the 4 things they've learned. And then there's a close-up of his nipple. But here's the rub. This is an anthology, and that was just the first segment. And the second one is called Project Atlantis. There's a couple on the beach, but this thing is there too, whatever this is. It takes over the dude and kills the girl, and then 9 months later, she's not dead and is just pregnant. Anyway, she goes back to the beach with a friend and encounters this hilarious monstrosity, and there's really no ending. It's just the thing keeps impregnating women and then standing against the green screen. The third story is the Day of the Assassin's Spirits, and it has this guy's birthday ho-hos, but some dude just has a gun, like it's America or something, but also a woman who is taken over by some sort of alien force, and then I guess just everyone is forced to kill themselves. And oh boy, these effects! And it also just ends abruptly with no real payoff. The next segment is called Botany, which has a woman get space napped, and when it happens, there's a Godzilla sound. And a couple of dudes camping. And they find this thing, which is pretty wonky looking, and also Godzilla sounds. And there's several more stories, but they're all this level of bizarre, mainly because unlike some anthology films, these segments are all by the same director. It's a guy named Steve Carell, and this is the first thing he did, and that's mostly apparent. And here's the deal. This has an incredibly low score on IMDb of 1.9, but somehow has a 2.7 on Letterboxd, but likely because it only has 13 ratings in total. But that gives it a combined score of 7.3 out of 20. And this does not deserve to be this high. None of the stories really have any substance to them. They are all literally just people go somewhere, encounter alien, get attacked, and that's it. Over and over. And it's only an hour and 14 minutes, but I'm telling you, it feels considerably longer. What I will say about it, though, is that I dig the creature designs that they're doing. They're poorly executed, but at least they're unique-looking creations. But yeah, this one's rough to get through. Number 4. Somehow, it's only going to get worse from here, although I'm not sure how. Let's look at this suggestion from Just Manic 9673, and it's The Goat Man Murders, otherwise known as Deadly Detour from 2011. It begins with a couple in a car, but a bloody woman shows up, and something unseen attacks them and kills the woman, but captures the guy, and I guess the killer is this dude. I guess he's the Goat Man? But this isn't a Billy the Kid Goat Man. It's a big man in overalls with a bald head that is just very obviously like just wearing an over-the-head mask. We then have our standard group of young folk on a trip together, and they have a conversation in the car. But I'm not sure what about, because the sound levels are so low that I can't understand most of what they're saying.
He just brings your bitch ass around because you got a car. Ain't that right, Preston?
While at a rest stop, a very busy rest stop, they find a bunch of innards. And they say it was the Goat Man, someone altered by an experiment gone wrong and is now half goat and hates regular humans. Oh, and while they're there, there's a man in the bathroom eating his own poop. For some reason. Along the way, one of their cars breaks down, so they decide to split up, with some going to town in the other car, while a few stay behind. They all go into the woods, and one of the guys is a ginger, and he goes off to pee, and I'm not sure of the point of this, but they do an extreme close-up of what is clearly a fake tiny penis with an exaggerated orange bush while he pees. It's so bizarre and out of the blue that I couldn't help but laugh. Like, I legit wonder if they just didn't like the actor and inserted this shot like just to mess with him. There's also a girl giving a handy in a car, and this is the music they decided to roll with. They also keep cutting back to a couple having sex in the woods, and they do every single thing possible to make it as unappealing as they possibly can. And yep, they keep on returning to it. Goat Man shows up and starts killing, and I won't be able to show you any of this, but I guess I have to describe it so you know how ridiculous this got. He breaks a bottle and then starts stabbing a girl with it, making sure to repeatedly jab it in between her legs. And this is intercut with her boyfriend going off to go to the bathroom while the camera captures what I'm hoping is like hot chocolate or whatever pouring out onto the ground while he's going to the restroom, making sure to get one close-up of his naked behind smeared in it. It's all really gross. And then he continues his rampage on this group, and I should also mention that all of this, except for that opening bit, is in broad daylight as the Goat Man attacks, and again, I'll stress, not a Goat Man. So this one comes from Mike O'Mahony, and it was also his feature film debut, and he's done several others afterwards, including one from 2013 called IBS, which I assume is very highbrow and sophisticated, not just constant poop jokes. This dropped a little because the IMDb score is 2.8. That's fairly rough, but the Letterboxd score is a bit better at 2.1. Technically 4.2 out of 10. So the combined score for this one is a 7. And I found this one more tolerable. Like, it's pretty crappy and tries way too hard with the gross out stuff. But some of the decisions they were making were so out there that they became kind of funny. Not intentionally, but definitely the kind of stuff that you just can't figure out what they were going for and if they were serious. And I really think that they were, to be honest. But just for comparison's sake, this is the Goat Man as represented in the film. This is what you get. This is the way that he's depicted on the box art. Number 3. Next up is one that I'm a little bit mad about because it's a sequel to a movie that I hated so much. And afterwards, Mr. Meathook said that if I thought that one was bad, that I had to do the sequel. So here's 2015's The Hospital 2. The ending of the last one had ghosts appear and kill off our villain rapists, and one survivor walks away. This picks up right after that, and it looks like Stanley is still alive. It then jumps ahead 5 years, and Sky and Beth, 2 characters from the first one, are here, but Sky's been recast. There's then this house for abused and battered women, but it seems like they're not what they seem, and we learn that Alan is still alive as well as Stanley, and that home is now the home base for their operations. He says that Stanley saved him and patched him up from his fate earlier, and they're back to their old tricks of kidnapping women and torturing them while live streaming it. It's revealed that the woman that runs the home is Alan's daughter, and he disappeared from her life for 25 years. And oh yeah, they're also having sex. And meanwhile, the audio fluctuates wildly from scene to scene. Debbie Rochon shows up, and it seems like whereas Alan and his daughter are content to move on and continue their gig, Stanley wants revenge against the ones that got away. And yeah, everything is gross. Even grosser than the Goat Man stuff. Like, there's a scene where Stanley is attacking a near-naked woman and he goes to bite her toe off. But beforehand, they do this extreme close-up of her foot in his mouth and he's like drooling over it. And I'm not gonna show you a clip because you don't need to be as scarred as me. And I'm still just so damn broken-hearted that this is the adorably funny little kid from Return of the Swamp Thing. And the thing is, just like the first one, he co-wrote and co-directed it, along with Jim O'Rear, who plays Alan. Just to be clear, they both wrote 2 movies and made them, and made sure to write themselves as the characters who get to sexually assault all the women. And this is only a 2.1 out of 10 on IMDb, and only a 1.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So doubled and totaled, that gives this a combined 4.9 out of 20. And I straight up hate this. Every minute of it. Like, speaking of that, here's what I don't get. Both of those sites list the runtime of this as 89 minutes, a little less than an hour and a half, but it's not. This thing is 2 hours long. And man, Mr. Meathook, you have recommended me some pure trash in the past, but this, I don't really have the words. Number 2. Hard to imagine we can go further down from there, but I guess we're going to, because this next one was recommended by The Bubs. And it's another recent one with 2024's Deaf PhD. It's set at a university, and then there's this lady that I remember from the Ouija experiment movies, and this guy who is also from those films. And we then meet an assortment of students. And then there's stuff like this.
What's up, fellas? What's up, man?
And that type of edit is normally used to show a passage of time, but I'm not sure what it was going for right here. The class professor offers the students a chance to bypass the rest of their requirements and to allow them to graduate early, but the catch is that they have to spend one night in the Sugarland house, a big estate that claims to be the most haunted place on Earth. She says they rent the house every couple of years and go to monitor the levels of paranormal activity there, and if they choose to participate, they can skip the rest of the class. I should point out that this is one of those classic movie college courses with like 10 students, and the teacher is given a whole auditorium for this. The deal is that if they take the offer and go to the house and leave before the night is up, then it counts as dropping the class entirely, which I'm not sure that's legal, like, at all. They discuss it with this single shot where the camera, like, whooshes back and forth between everyone, and it's pretty damn funny because it's frequently late to the action. And oh my god, this is a half hour in, and literally all that's happened is a bunch of students were offered to spend the night in a spooky house, and they've talked about it. And they do a bunch of like beginning filmmaking stuff, like there's several moments where a character is meant to interrupt another one from speaking, and the interrupter comes in a little bit late, so the first speaker just straight up stops their line, like they knew the other person is meant to jump in.
And if they go and we don't, then we stay number 3, number 4 by default. You know that I need to be able to
compete with the best. Yeah, I know, but
Finally, at the half-hour mark, they go to the spooky house, and it's the same location that was used for House 2. But I have a feeling we're not going to get any puppy caterpillars here. And every character in this movie is boiled down to a single character trait. There's the girl who smokes a lot of pot, the girl who's always hungry, the drunk guy, the gay guy, the smart girl, and the religious girl. That's their entire characters. Anyway, they all get locked in the house, and really quickly, one of them is dead. But of course, they get no signal, and they try the door one time, and say they're stuck and have no other options. Like, it's a school project. There's no way they'd lock them in with no way to get out at all, due to being a fire hazard. Of course, there has to be that one character that's just really grating and wants to argue with everyone all the time. But then there's Ghost Kids, and they're hilarious because you know what makes little demon kids scary? A rap song playing in the background.
100 lashes, 100 lashes, 100 lashes. 100 lashes, 100 lashes.
They attack, and when I say attack, I mean they use a filter on the actor, and this is their reaction afterwards.
I can't believe they killed JT.
Keep in mind, at this point, the only efforts we've seen for them getting out of the house was trying the front door one single time, and one person tried to place a call, and that's it. They do finally sort of try to get out again by jiggling the handle of the same door and then lightly bumping against it. No one tries to force it harder, and no one tries to break a window. Nothing. But yeah, this is actually written and directed by Swissy who also plays their professor, and it was her first feature film. Although she directed shorts before this. And IMDb has this as a 2.3, but Letterboxd only has it as a 1.3, so doubled and combined, this is only a 4.9, which is equal to The Hospital 2, but it's so much more bearable. But also, not? This one's main crime is that it's so freaking boring. Like, nothing happens, and when it finally does happen, it's literally just little kids in bad wigs. No one seems that concerned about anything, like the fact that people are dying and they're seeing the supernatural, but everyone just sort of keeps on doing what they're doing. I didn't hate this, and it wasn't torturous to get through or anything, except for the overall dullness. But it's clearly the most bargain basement of bargain basements. Like, look at the main spirit that appears at the end, and they're all petrified of her, as if she isn't one of the workers at the local high school's haunted house.
Let's get ready, children.
Number 1. Alright, I'm legitimately afraid of this next one because it was recommended by Cybetagris. I do not know how to pronounce that. And it's my old frenemy, Uli Lommel, with The Raven from 2006. I'm afraid because I had to cover several of his films in these worst of lists before, and they're never easy to get through. This begins in typical surrealistic Lommel fashion with a guy who looks like Edgar Allan Poe reciting the Raven poem, while a woman dreams of a man coming to see her, and he attacks her, so she electrocutes him in the tub. And then it says that it's 15 years ago, and this little girl is being read The Raven as a bedtime story. She says that she is Lenore, and that nothing will ever hurt her, and they talk about seeing an actual raven. And it bounces back and forth to the present, where Lenore is a singer. And the sound levels are just, like, all over the place. Their music is very 2006, and their hair. What the hell is up with this hair? These two wildly coiffed fellas are stalked by a gentleman with no hair, like maybe he's just jelly of their poof doos, and he murders them while they watch Lommel's 1983 flick, Olivia, on TV. Here's a voiceover, oddly in the voice of a young Lenore, explaining she's now a singer, but much like a couple of the others I've talked about from this time frame, he's using this whole layered footage thing, and it all plays out more like a music video than a movie, mainly because the only music is low-pitched droning. And then sometimes this happens. And there is a story, I guess. From what I can gather, that bit at the beginning happened. Lenore was raped by a guy, so she killed him. But now he's coming back as a guy named Skinner, and he's returned through the Raven. So it's like a reverse Crow. He's now killing her bandmates and making his way to her. But again, this is all told in this fractured, artsy way, and you have to piece it together through moments of improvised dialogue recorded on microphones that are too far away, and really long, drawn-out, tedious bits where it takes forever for anything to happen. Like, there's a bit where one of the girls is at the dentist and Skinner shows up there, and the scene goes on for 7 minutes. And there's no real dialogue or action. It's just this girl in the chair while the dentist walks around and Lenore sits in the waiting room and Skinner strolls by, and repeat for 7 minutes. And this is easily the lowest scoring film here, since the IMDb score is a mere 1.5 out of 10, which is ouch. And the Letterboxd score isn't far off, since it's a 1.2 out of 5. So that's just 2.4 out of 10 for a total score of 3.9. Our lowest tally here. And I know that this is just the second episode, but it's the lowest total of this entire series. And it is rough. There's just no way to actively sit and watch this movie. Like, it's fine to have on as something passive, just droning on in the background while you're doing something else. But it's so far up its own ass that it's unbearable. Lommel made this one right before making Curse of the Zodiac, another terrible trash bag film I've covered, and also Diary of a Cannibal, which I've also done. So this era of Lommel appears to be all this like really misguided stream of consciousness cinema with no real ability, which is weird because I've done enough of his films to know that he does have talent. He can make good movies. He understands storytelling and editing and all of that, but by watching this movie, you sure as hell would never know. So now, let's go through these and decide who did their worst. We had 7 movies of varying degrees of terrible, but all of these were someone's worst films. The most tolerable of this batch of films was definitely Cracoon, which I didn't love, but was definitely entertained by, and would certainly watch it again if it came down to it. It might be my particular niche of enjoying backyard filmmaking, but I had fun with it. Our 6th most tolerable film was Revenge of the Billy the Kid, and I also enjoy this one, and I would rewatch it. Weirdly, nothing about it was familiar, so if I did watch it all those years ago, I shut it out of my memory, but it has a cool monster in it, so I'm not mad. The next one is where it gets rougher, but our next here is The Goat Man Murders, and we've already turned the corner into awful. Like, this one is not worth watching, and I wouldn't watch it again, but I didn't outright hate it. Our 4th worst one here is going to be Death PhD. It's really bad and amateurish, but I don't know, I think because it crossed that barrier of this is so bad it's silly threshold that I thought it was a tolerable experience. Number 3 is going to be X-Files, and I wish that this was worse because there's a few times where it's almost funny in its badness, but for the most part it's just boring stuff and really has nothing of substance to it, so you'll forget it very shortly after you watch it. Like I've forgotten most of it already. The 2nd worst is gonna be Uli Llama Land again, and I'm going with The Raven here. This is just frustrating because there's nothing to it. It's just surreal imagery, but without any art to it, so you can't like enjoy it for that aspect. It's just tedious. But the worst one here, the hardest one to get through, hands down, is The Hospital 2. This is just garbage, and poorly made garbage at that, and literally feels like it exists solely for the writer and director to act out rape fantasies with actresses. I never want to see this one again, and I don't even really want to talk about it. So congratulations, Mr. Meat Hook. You have done your worst. But here's the real question. Can it unseat the reigning champion, the Wet Ones, for the worst? And the answer is yes. I would rather have to rewatch that one since I didn't feel like I needed a shower immediately afterwards. And yeah, it might be close, but The Hospital 2 is now the worst that has been done. So there you have it, 7 of your worst movies ever. That's right, I want to know which of these you thought was the worst one. Have you seen these before? Let me know which of these is the worst. Let me know your worst horror movie that you've ever seen down below, and who knows, maybe it'll get featured in a future episode. Tell me that. If you enjoyed this, if you like seeing my pain, hit that like button. If you enjoy the channel, subscribe to it and hit the bell to get notified when new videos come out. And of course, check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/movietimelines, and you can help support this channel and my efforts to find these terrible, terrible movies. I'd appreciate that, but keep on coming back, and we'll see on the next episode who can do their worst.
Do your worst, give me your best shot. Do your worst, is that all you've got? Give me your best shot. Do your worst.